Welcome to Adventures Beyond the Horizon. This is where we delve into the essence of overlanding, the art of navigating uncharted paths, and the stories forged on the roads less traveled.
I'm John, and joining me is Anthony. Together, we will explore the profound experiences of our journeys, the intricacies of vehicle modifications, and the challenges and triumphs of off-road adventures.
Each episode, we'll share insights of our recent trips, and as well as uncover the deeper connections and transformative moments found in the world of overlanding. Subscribe to stay with us on this journey. Hello everybody, welcome to Adventures Beyond the Horizon. We are starting this episode off with our favorite trips that we've taken. It should be a pretty good episode. I have my favorite trip. Actually, I have two, but John's going to go ahead and talk about his. How you been, John?
Oh, pretty good. Just got back from a motorcycle ride. It's kind of cold. It's getting colder now.
Yeah, the solstice apparently starts tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, so then it's winter tomorrow. Or, correction, fall.
Fall.
Fall tomorrow, yeah.
Don't skip over the good season.
Yeah, the best season of it all.
The nice yellow trees. Oh, yeah. I also went on a trip today, and the aspen trees were turning all yellow. It was really pretty.
Nice. Yeah, no, I got pine trees over here, so that's mostly what I saw.
That is pretty.
Mm.
Well, did you want to start off with your favorite trip?
Well, yeah, so we've already kind of covered my favorite trip. I haven't done a whole lot of quote-unquote overlanding, but my favorite one is the Colorado trip, so we don't need to really recap that one. However, I'll just recover my second favorite one. It was the first time I've ever went. It was myself, my wife, and our dog, Henry, and we were just like, okay, let's go for the weekend. And I was living in Tacoma at the time, and we went over to, I want to say it's the Olympic National Forest. I can't remember where it's called. And it was like the first time that we had the truck. And so we were going out. We went shooting in a couple different spots. And it was really foggy. So we didn't get to see it a whole lot. But the whole experience was just nice. We ended up camping in kind of like what we think is a dirt bike trail. Because the way it was like a very sharp incline up into just a trail of just what looked like to be dirt bikes, but we couldn't be for certain. And I don't know how to describe like the actual campsite area, but it was raining because it was in the middle of September. Actually, no, I think it was November when we actually went camping.
Dang, must have been cold.
Not necessarily freezing, but it was chilly. But it was started to rain. It was also Henry's first time ever going out, so he was confused. But we kept him warm, and he enjoyed himself because it was the first time we ever like let him just roam, and he loved it. And he stuck close to the fire because he knew that the fire was warm. Getting the fire going though, that was difficult. It was really difficult.
How so? Did you not have fire starters or anything?
No, we didn't have any fire starters, so we just were like, okay, let's get this going. Yeah.
Gotta come prepared, man. But then again, that's your first trip, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it was the first trip. And so we just kind of explored the hills. We did see mountains every once in a while, but it was difficult to see them just because of the fog.
Mm-hmm.
The camp area kind of felt creepy just because it was foggy and very like thick woods.
Yeah.
Even though like we were just in the middle of an open trail. And we only camped one night, but it was pretty cool. And that was about it.
Not bad.
That's all I had.
Nothing eventful really happened other than the fog.
Yeah, no events. We went shooting a couple times, and it was a lot of driving the day before and then the day after, and that was about it.
As far as you can recall, there was no creepy sounds in the middle of the forest.
No, but we did think we heard dirt bikes in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty common thing, especially in an area that most people are going to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've ran across that a few times, especially with my aunt when we went camping. My first camping trip in Colorado, we camped along like this off road, very popular off road trail, and like at night when we were trying to sleep, these guys were doing night rides and they had their speaker blasting music. It woke me up at like I think it was like 2 in the morning. So pissed. But it tends to happen just if you're going to be in a more populated area that a lot of people that trail that a lot of people go to.
Yeah, it was a super populated trail. As we were driving, there was a family of like seven. Well, it was two different vehicles. We could tell that they were all family, but they were having a good old time.
As they do, as they do.
Mhm. Yeah, they were also shooting, so they were having fun. They're having their own fun.
I
Sorry, I
gotcha.
was struggling there. I was trying to take my shoes off. Hopefully, it wasn't too loud.
Actually, I couldn't even hear. I could just see you looking down.
You know. Yeah. So, what about your favorite trip?
Um, well, okay, so I do have two. So the one in Colorado was up there on the top of the list because that one what we had what 4 days, so that was like the true overlanding trip.
Yeah, where everything was just what we brought, except for the one stop at McDonald's
Yeah,
because we were hungry.
in the attempt to get Starbucks, that was fun in Vail, trying to navigate Vail, and there's just like nothing there. There's stuff there, but it's like all in the resorts, and we just it was so annoying.
I thought it was Chick-fil-A you guys were trying to stop at.
Was it Chick-fil-A? I
I don't
think
know.
we abandoned the idea for Chick-fil-A because we looked it up and there was like none around, and then we tried to do a breakfast restaurant, and there's one in Vale. There was a couple in Vale, so we went there, and then we realized it was inside of a hotel, and then we just I didn't want to have to deal with that, and we left, and then went to Copper Mountain, and then went into a breakfast restaurant inside the resort,
Hmm.
anyways.
But that was the following day.
Yeah. Well, no, that was the same day.
No,
Yes, it was because when we were coming down from the camping site in Vale, we were coming
exactly.
down to get food.
The next day, we went up in Vale. Then the next day, we went to Leadville and all that.
Yeah, but that morning that we went to Leadville, we were coming down from the Vale campsite, looked at restaurants in Vale, decided not to go to Vale, then went to Copper Mountain, ate there, and then went to Leadville.
Oh, right. Yeah, you are right. Yes, yes. Why was I thinking we were like, okay, we just gave up and then we just went to go camp? That was weird. Hmm.
The
Oh well.
because we spent 2 days in Vale.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were coming. So the morning of us
Leaving.
going to Vale,
Yeah.
there was nothing around, so we just didn't stop. I think we ate at our campsite in the morning,
Yep. We had
and then
sandwiches or something.
yeah. Now then, my second favorite trip was one I did with my dad. We went to Clayton, Georgia. It was like a weekend thing, but we this is whenever my dad had like modded out his truck a little bit, got lift on his truck, better tires, and all this other stuff. And we went to Clayton, Georgia.
But before you continue, you said truck. What kind of truck?
He has a Toyota 4Runner.
Okay.
Yeah. So some people say truck, some people say SUV. Most people say truck for 4Runner.
SUV truck. They're synonyms if it's an SUV, I guess.
They're built very similar. One's just enclosed. Yeah, we went to Clayton, Georgia, and we were trying to find this trail called Sarah's Creek. But on the way, we saw a little offshoot trail off the main road. We went down that, and there was this fallen tree, and the fallen tree was like right in the middle of the trail, but it wasn't like on the trail. It was just enough space where we thought we could get under it. Now there some people had like cut a path around it that went down the mountain a little bit and then swooped back up. It was all muddy, like freshly fallen pine needles and whatnot. My dad was gonna do that one, so he turned down and tried to do the bypass around the tree. He went down there, realized it was really muddy, tried to come back up. The tires were just spinning in the mud constantly. So we had to hook up his winch and pull him up, and it was just a slow slog because it was the first time we ever used his winch. Luckily, nothing snapped. Everything went fine. But at first he was trying to rely on the Toyota's traction control system to get him up. Did not work. So yeah, we had to use the winch. And after we used the winch, he got on the other side of the tree. I was luckily small enough to fit right under the tree just by like a little bit. And so we went past that tree, went down the trail a little bit, then it got narrower and narrower and narrower. Comes to find out it was a horse trail instead.
Oof.
Yeah, and so we got the sides of our trucks a little scratched. So not too bad, but we found a place to turn around, went back, had to do the whole entire thing again. But luckily, he was able to fit under the tree this time. And we went back, and then we found the correct trail, which was Sarah's Creek.
Sarah's Greek. I hardly know
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All that rushing water.
her. Why?
Um, but yeah, we found Sarah's Creek. It was 3 creek crossings. One of them, I thought I was stuck because I went down this hill because I was switching the 4 low. Went down the hill into the creek, pressed the gas, nothing happened. Wouldn't go forward or anything. Then I looked down, realized I was still in neutral.
Well, that's rookie mistakes right there.
Yeah, yeah. And so I put it in drive, went right out the creek. Found our campsite. It's perfectly fine. And
What was the campsite like?
what was the what?
Campsite like?
It was so we camped right by a stream, essentially.
Mm.
It was surrounded by trees. On the other side of the stream, it just went up the mountain, fallen trees. Everything was kind of wet still, but it was fine.
Was this stream still a part of Sarah's Creek?
Yeah, so the stream that we camped by was right next to the stream we crossed.
Okay.
So just a little bit further down was the area that we actually crossed it from. And camped there for a night, perfectly fine. Nothing else really happened. We talked and drank some beer. It was fine. Really a trip on that one. And then we went back to that area not long after that, just for another camping weekend. Went down another trail. I forget exactly what the other trail's called, but we had a river crossing on this one. It was a little more intense.
Yeah, that's a big upgrade from a creek to a river. Does he have a snorkel?
He does not have a snorkel. Neither did I. I was still on my original OEM tires, and
Mm.
they were small and not incredible. When we were heading towards the river, there were some off-camber parts where, of course, my back tire was in the air, and then my automatic locker locked up, and I was able to get through it just perfectly fine. And so we got to the river. There were a few people coming across the river already. One was a Subaru, and it survived the river crossing somehow. But on the other side was like a little rock climb you had to get up. The Subaru did not make it up this rock climb. So they had to turn around in the river because that rock climb gets you out of the river.
Oh, that sounds disgusting.
Yeah, so they had to turn around and come back. After that, I attempted it. I went down into the river. So apparently, I didn't know this until after I had already crossed the river. There was a certain line you had to take. I went straight across. Straight across is not the way you're supposed to go. So as I got into the middle of the river, the water started coming up to the level of where the bow tie is on the front of my truck, which is pretty high, almost to like the hood lid. I thought I
Mm-hmm.
was about to waterlock my engine. Luckily, I didn't. It was very nerve-wracking. My heart was pounding
Ugh.
so hard. My dad was like kind of like freaking out too. I got to the other side, was able to climb up, had some help from my dad to like know where to put my wheels and whatnot because he already crossed it, which his crossing was perfectly fine. He has a little lift over me, but we got up it, and then there was just further down the trail, there was this big, giant hole, like where I had to essentially have both my tires hanging off, just like the edge, and then sliding on my belly down this area. It was, yeah, it was a little more
What?
intense than I was expecting
How did you not break anything if you were sliding on the belly of the
because it
truck?
was sliding on the frame of the truck, not on any like components, luckily. And so we went down that. It was perfectly fine. Nothing was wrong.
So you're telling me you were grinding your truck
I was
like a
sliding
skateboard?
on the frame of my truck like a sled in the mud.
So basically, like a grind on a
Sure.
skateboard.
Yes.
That must have been super scary and sound not
Especially
pleasant.
since I had bought the truck probably like 4 months ago and I had never done anything this intense. So this trip was like how I found out the limits of my truck. It was a pretty intense trip.
Well, yeah, that's usually how people camp. Intense.
What?
That's usually how people camp. Intense.
That's so dumb. That was
Intense.
haha. So funny. Haha. What a great joke you had made there. Aren't you
Thanks.
laughing, audience, too? Isn't it just a great joke? Lord. Um anyway, after that bombshell of a joke, we went down for the trail and we get to this other river. So this area that we're kind of on is kind of like an island-ish thing. There's two campsites. So there's a lower level campsite, and you had to go up this other like off-camber dirt track up to the upper level campsites. So we went up there. The thing I noticed most about that area was the amount of trash that people had left.
Yeah, it's also in what South Carolina, Georgia.
It was Georgia, yeah.
Yeah, I seem to notice people out there don't care about nature as much as people out here in Washington. Should say maybe not the Seattle Bremerton area, but outside of this peninsula and Kitsap and like the big U across Seattle and us. Outside of it, they're very like nature friendly.
Nature
Colorado,
conscious.
Colorado, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
same thing with Colorado,
Yeah.
Utah. People that have a lot more land, but like Georgia, South Carolina, it didn't seem like anybody cares down there.
Yeah, it was weird because we found a bucket that people were using as a toilet that they had left out there.
That's disgusting.
I know, it was freaking crazy, and they left full trash bags. It was just so trashy, but we didn't want to go back across the river because it was a higher level if we had gone back. And if I had gone back the same way, like the same line I took, then I probably would have drowned the truck in the river. So we decided to stay the night there. It was really good. It got really cold. I think it got down to 20 degrees at night. I was freezing my butt off. I had two sleeping bags, still was freezing my butt off. And then in the middle of the night, my dad gets out to go use the bathroom and his car alarm goes off cuz he was sleeping in his car. So as he opens the
Mm.
door, his car alarm goes off. And I'm like freaking out, waking up, freaking out, thinking it's my truck. I go look for my, like, rustle for my keys in the middle of the night in the dark. And I press the lock button. Nothing's happening. And then after, like, I think 3 or 4 seconds later, it turns off. Then I hear something like moving. And then I found out it was my dad going to use the bathroom. And it scared me so bad because I didn't know what was going on. Just I was in a dead sleep, and then this loud noise turns on. I'm like, oh my god, what is going on? But that was crazy. And the next day, we got out. It was perfectly fine. We explored the area a little bit, found this old graveyard, and it was like graves from like the 1800s. It was an old family. It was really weird, really kind of spooky. Um,
Well, I mean, it is spooky season.
I don't know. We may have heard some weird noises in the woods right by the graveyard. Scary.
Ooh, spooky
Ooh.
time. Spooky time.
Um, Another thing, when we were down by that campsite, we were just kind of exploring the river a little bit. There was like a tiny pool of water right next to the river with like probably 1,000 tadpoles. It was really weird, and yeah, that was the weirdest thing. And then another like memory, like a cherished memory I have, was at Sarah's Creek. This was another camping trip we did. I think it was at the same campsite, I believe, because we
Well,
went.
you really like Sayers Creek, huh?
Yeah, no, it was. It's a great area. It was relatively close by. That's why we chose it so many times.
Okay, that makes sense.
But that trip we had explored more down Sarah's Creek. Got to the end. There was like a trail that offshooted from the turnaround area at the end of Sarah's Creek that went up to this like field area. We saw this online. but it was a really intense, deep grooved trail, bunch of mud and everything. I tried to do it in my truck as soon as I got into it because it's an incline right as you like get up into it. I hit my bumper and I couldn't move. So
Oh,
I said that was the end for me. I backed up. My dad tried to do it. He got up a little ways, but the humps were so close together that at some point he had bottomed out his truck
yeah. Oh,
and couldn't move it any further forward.
yeah. I know what you're talking about. I think I talked about this previously on a different episode. Going to an off-road park with my buddy, my roommate.
Mm-hmm.
He has the Jeep where I parked. We're at the campsite, and we took his Jeep. Yeah, that's pretty similar. And it was, I know, yeah, I know what you're talking about. You could probably couldn't have done that in an SUV if you tried.
If you had a higher lift, maybe it's just he bottomed out his truck and couldn't move forward anymore. If he had bigger tires and an SUV, because it was more of like big tired Jeeps could get through it.
Yeah, you just need a shorter wheelbase.
Yeah,
That also helps.
yeah. And we just didn't have it, so he came back down. We found the campsite again, and then we did our usual thing, started talking, and then drank some beer.
Drink.
And it started raining, and so we tried to jerry rig this tarp thing that we had to just sit under and talk, but it didn't work out too well because the way we tied it was just really weird and it didn't hold up well. So I put on my leather cowboy hat, he put on his jacket, and we just went, and I think he sat in his chair. It was still raining pretty hard at the time. I got my jacket on, he got his jacket on, and we just sat out in the rain and started talking. And we talked for a really long time just in the rain. It was really nice. That was one of the turning points for me, because him and I, ever since we started doing this hobby, we've grown a lot closer. And that was one of the very distinct memories I have with him, was that talk in the rain. Uh
A
it
very
was like
good
a
bonding
movie.
moment.
It was like a movie scene. It was really weird,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, it was those three trips were my favorite trips I've ever had with my dad. And I wish we could go on more, which I'm sure we will at some point. It's just a matter of planning because I live out here now and he
Hmm.
still lives in South Carolina. And
Yeah, maybe when we move back to South Carolina, he and I could probably plan one together so that way we can meet you somewhere in the middle between there and South Carolina.
uh,
Yeah, Colorado and South Carolina, I should say.
there's one area we talked about doing. It's the Ozarks, I think in Arkansas.
Hmm.
We talked about doing that. We haven't made a plan or anything, but we talked about doing that. And then there's another longer trail that we could meet halfway, and then would work more back. I forget the entire thing. It was either work back east or back west. I forget. We talked about doing that, and then he's also planning on coming to Colorado at some point to do a trip. I don't know
Is
because
he gonna fly out there or is he gonna drive?
he's gonna drive
Okay,
because he wants
that
to
makes
bring his
sense.
truck.
Yeah, makes sense.
And with the way his work works, he can work remotely.
Works.
The way he works, he can work remotely, if that makes sense.
His job allows him to work remotely.
Yes, that one. That's a good one.
Work.
But I'm excited because I do miss him. I do miss our adventures, and I can't wait
Yeah,
to show him Colorado.
it is beautiful out there.
Oh, it's
I
amazing.
was talking to people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I love going to Colorado." I'm like, "How come I haven't gone out there?" Like, except for this one time. I never thought it would be as pretty as everybody says it is, but for sure it
It's just
was.
so like if it's so different from one area of Colorado and then to another. Like when we went that from where we went that first day to the second
Hmm.
day and then the third
And
day,
then third
it was
day, yeah,
all just different. It was
or not third day, but the fourth day,
well, you got to think. So the second day
day two and
compared
day
to
three, where they
the
say,
second campsite compared to the third campsite,
"There you go."
I didn't hear that. Um, the second campsite was more like the classic woods
Nice.
campsite in the
Yes.
woods. There's tall trees everywhere, big mountain views and whatnot. And then the third day
Yep.
was more wide open, more fields, and you still had a mountain
Yes,
view.
yes. I'm sure the folks listening are tired of talking about the Colorado trip. This would be episode 3 that we've talked about it now. We're the third episode.
It was just such an amazing trip. There's
It
just so
was,
much
yeah,
you can't talk. You got to talk about it in multiple episodes.
yeah.
But no, I can't wait till he comes out here because I can't. It's gonna be fun. There's a lot.
Hmm.
There's a lot I want to show him. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I don't think I have anything else to add. So you just want to go ahead and wrap it up?
Sure, sounds good to me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Adventures Beyond the Horizon. We hope you enjoyed the journey as much as we did. Today, we just kind of recapped of some of our favorite adventures, and we hope you found our stories as inspiring as we did.
We'd love to hear about your own overlanding stories and or any topics you'd like us to cover for any future episodes. Please connect with us on our social medias, like our Instagram, or drop us an email at our email. Just I'm gonna roll with it. You go.
Stay tuned for our next episode next week. We'll be kind of covering Broncos versus Jeeps. We're going to have a special guest. It's going to be an adventure you won't want to miss.
Until next time, keep chasing new horizons, stay adventurous, and take care out there.
Peace.
Out.
Ugh.